Good afternoon. You guys able to hear me? David, are you able to hear me? That yes or no?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sir, we are live.
Very well, it's 1:30. We're going to begin today's hearings before the special magistrate for code enforcement for the city of Palatka. By way of introduction, my name is Ron Brown. I'm an attorney licensed in law, state of Florida, state code and city code.
Excuse me, I'm gonna mic. Whoever's talking, I can't hear them.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll do it again. We're now going to begin the proceedings before the city special magistrate for code enforcement. My name is Ron Brown. I'm an attorney appointed by the City Commission of the City of Palatka pursuant to city code and state law. These proceedings will be conducted under the requirements of both state law and the city code. It is not a formal court of law. We do not have formal rules of evidence and formal rules of civil procedure. We do, however, follow the basic notions of fair play and due process, which will allow the opportunity for everyone to be heard and present the evidence they have on the matters before us. One of the requirements of it, the due process facility and of the law, is that the evidence be what's called substantial and competent, which means it's evidence that would cause a reasonable person to reach the designated conclusion. It's not something that is extremely difficult. It's just something that's going to have a lot of weight and credibility. And so therefore, we're going to make sure that that's done. One of the requirements of that, however, is that all such testimony must be sworn. So I'm going to ask everyone who is here today who's going to testify to please stand. And person who is on Zoom, if you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Darius Jefferson, Senior.
And you're Jefferson Darius, is that correct?
No, my name is Darius Jefferson, Senior.
Darius Jefferson Senior.
Senior. It's first name last. I got it. Darius Jefferson Senior. And you are the owner of the property at 1506 Carr Street, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, you'd raise your hand for me, and everyone take the following oath. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that everyone has responded in the affirmative to the oath. The procedure we're going to follow is pretty straightforward. The city is going to make a presentation regarding the allegations of the violations. They're showing at this time 2 sections of the city code regarding prohibited conditions in public nuisances, overgrown grass, and prohibited conditions in public nuisances, dilapidated building on the property of 1506 Carr Street. Mr. Green will be making the city's presentation. You'll have his testimony as well as some, I believe, some photographs and perhaps other documents that he'll present concerning the violation. Mr. Jefferson, you'll have a chance to respond, ask any questions you may have, make any testimony and evidence that you may wish in response to what's going on. At the conclusion of the hearing, I'll make a determination whether there's a violation and if there is any further action that needs to be taken. I do note this is a case, however, to impose administrative fine and lien. Is that correct? This case has already come before us.
No, sir, this is a new case.
Okay, have I got the right one?
Yes, sir, I mean, may have their own header.
Okay, yeah, it says hearing to impose administrative lien. This is the new case, correct?
Correct.
All right. Therefore, we'll proceed, Mr. Green.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. May I intervene just right quick? I'm requesting permission to also record this, if that's okay with the hearing board there.
I'm sorry?
You want to record it?
I would like to record this
You
as
can
well.
record it.
Yeah.
Yes,
And for the record, the city
I-
makes a recording of this also.
This is true, but it says that I have to request permission to record from you all.
You're fine.
Okay, well,
Please
someone,
proceed.
well, I'm waiting on someone to give me permission. They have to give me permission to record, is what I'm asking, sir.
Yes, you have permission to record this, sir.
Okay, whoever's the host, you are the host, so you have to click the availability for me to be able to record, is what I'm saying.
It's a public hearing. You're welcome to record anything on a public hearing.
My point exactly, but I have to get the permission from the host of the
setting.
Zoom to record.
Like I said, it's a public hearing. You're entitled to record anything at a public hearing.
Yes, we're gonna have the city clerk step in. She's more informed on dealing with
So
these.
I'm not sure what he's asking then is,
Yes, so Zoom does create a recording, but it gives the participants in the room of the Zoom room also the ability to record, to make their own individual recording for their records. So he's wanting to have a copy
that's fine.
instantly. So we're
Yeah.
asking the city clerk, Ms. Krantz, to step in and make those adjustments to give those permission.
If you can do that from a technical standpoint, he's entitled to a recording, obviously.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're trying to make those arrangements for him.
So we're awaiting the city clerk, is that correct?
I believe. Okay. So, excuse me, Mr. Jefferson, I'm seeing here a selection to where I can mark to record a separate audio file for each participant. Does that suffice? you-
Well, once that permission is allowed, I
Okay.
will hit record on my end as well, is what I'm saying. So I'm
Oh,
waiting-
okay.
but you have to do it on the technical side over
would you
there.
like, Mr. Jefferson, would you like to hit record now?
Yes,
Does it give you that permission?
not yet. It says, please ask the host to give permission to record. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay. I apologize for trying to. Yeah.
And sir, whoever's presiding at the magistrate, I didn't get your name because your mic wasn't on initially.
My name is Ron Brown,
Ron Brown.
BROWN.
Gotcha.
You can attempt again, Mr. Jefferson. I'm trying to adjust settings to see if that allows you. And meanwhile, the city clerk is researching in how we can accommodate this.
If you click right, if you go to your video button over there and you right click on it, go to video settings, that should give you an option to allow everyone that's participating to record on a Zoom meeting.
Just for the record, Mr. Brown, he can be allowed to record, but the official recording shall be the one that.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And the respondent is, of course, entitled to a copy of that recording.
Okay, thank you. It's available.
Okay, sir. So are you able to collect your recording? We're gonna move forward with the process. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson.
Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, Mr. Green,
Yes, sir. The property was first, reserved August 22nd, 2022. The notice for the hearing was sent out September 12th, 2022. The green card came back. It wasn't signed for Mr. Darius. Mr. Jefferson said he didn't sign because of COVID. Nobody evidently was here. The site posting was, also put on the property, 1506 Carr Street at September 12th, 2022. The violations are overgrown grass and 30-32C. Dilapidated building.
all right, those two sections of the code, as I read them, section 30-32A, prohibited conditions and public nuisances, overgrown grass. That section of code is included in the record and we'll take notice of it. That section provides important in part, excessive and unintended growth of grass, weeds, brush, branches, and other overgrowth. The purpose of this section is to prohibit and prevent those conditions on properties located within the city. Also in violation is section, or alleged violation is section 30-32C of the city code, declaration of nuisance. City prohibits the existence of any nuisance as defined herein for the following reasons. The property is dangerous, unhygienic, unhealthy, visual nuisance because it depreciates or potentially can depreciate the value of the neighboring property. And the general allegation is that it's a dilapidated building. Mr. Green, if you show us what the two violations are.
Yes, sir. That's a picture of just the house in general.
Can you guys share the screen, please, so I can see it as well?
Yes, sir.
Can you see it?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, all right.
Is that date of the photo as well, Mr. Green?
Yes, 8/22, August 22nd, 2022.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and for the record, we're going to let Mr. Green make his presentation, and then we'll let the respondent ask any question, make any presentation he may have. So we just give a chronologically accurate record. So Mr. Green, please proceed.
Yes, sir. This is the next picture. That's the roof.
And we're looking at picture number one.
Number
is it?
one, yes, August 22nd, 2022.
This is the roof of the house?
Yes, that's the roof and the inside.
Okay. And just give us a little verbal description to go along with the photo. Go back to number one, please.
Yes, so that's the roof, and the inside roof is burnt and have vines going inside the house. And you got a little bit of the siding, a little bit that's burnt. Everything is caved in, the roof is caved in.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
And this is picture number two, August 22nd, 2022. That's the side of the house. And that shows vines going inside the house burnt on the inside, the sides burned, and it's on the roof again.
All right,
And this is
photo three.
yeah, photo 3, August 22nd. This is a wider picture showing overgrown grass. The house is being burnt from the front and the sides, and the roof also caving in.
Okay.
This is picture 1B, September 19, 2022. Dilapidated building, overgrown grass, showing a picture that it looks the same from August 22nd, 2022. The roof is burnt, caved in, grass and vines going in and out the house. This is 2B, September 19, 2022. Vines going inside the house, overgrown grass, the roof for caving in, that's the side of the house. Picture number 3B, this is 1506 car, September 19, 2022. Dilapidated building, overgrown grass, and it's another wider picture that's the same as August 22nd, 2022.
All right. Anything further?
No, sir.
All right, the code requires that we take a look at the issue of dangerous, unhygienic, unhealthy visual nuisance. Can you just or briefly summarize where you are with each of those items?
Sir,
The code requires dangerous, unhygienic, unhealthy, and a visual nuisance.
sir, someone go in the house and if he's not here, if it's not secure, they get hurt in the house. And then you have two houses on the right side, this new house. They just built two new houses on the other side. And I would figure that would be value property. And then you have a house on the other side that's that probably decrease the value on the property.
Are the walls standing on this house?
They leaning the back side of the house. Yes.
Is the house open for
Yes.
people to get inside of it?
Yes.
And the roof is collapsed, is that
Yes.
correct?
Burnt and collapsed. Yes.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Jefferson, the city's taking a position that you've got a lot of vegetation on the property, needs to be trimmed and mowed,
Yes, sir.
that the house has some difficulties with its roof and general condition. It looks like it's been victim of a fire and needs to be replaced. Let me ask before you begin, what's the city want from this? What repair would be necessary?
To get the proper permits for him, that'd be his decision to either get a permit to demolition the house or permits to refurbish it.
I also noticed is that we have the fire marshal present today, is that correct?
Yes, because
Is he going to participate?
that'd be up to Mr. Darius,
All right,
Mr. Jefferson.
I'll let Mr. Jefferson proceed then. Is it Darius? Darius
Yes,
Jefferson.
Darius, yeah.
Actually, Mr. Brown, most of them know me as Darius, but it's actually Darius. The great state of Florida couldn't put a little ellipse over the I, but that's what my mother name is, Darius Jefferson. But everyone that knows me from back home there in Palatka knows they call me Darius or DJ.
Fine.
Now, I was not aware that the fire marshal is there. Mr. Green, which fire marshal is there? Is this the
That's,
state fire marshal that I spoke with? Or is that Mr. Chad?
That's Mr. Chad.
Okay,
Let me ask you this, what's the relevance of the fire marshal to this? I mean, I'm looking at the state of the house at this point. The only jurisdiction I have is to take a look at the property, the evidence concerning the condition of the property and see whether the conditions on the property result in violations of the code. How's the fire marshal? I mean, if you want to testify to condition of the house, that's fine. What are you looking for from the fire marshal?
you asking me, Mr. Brown, or you asking Mr. Green?
I'm sorry?
Are you asking myself or Mr. Green?
You, sir, you had, Mr. Green, well, who wanted the fire marshal here?
It was, go ahead, Darius.
All right, whatever. Let you proceed
Well,
and
Mr.
let's
Brown,
just see how it goes.
Mr. Brown, the issue was, I guess Mr. Jefferson was saying the reason he had done anything to the property because it was still under investigation. And Mr. Fire Marshal here in Palatka, Chad, said that the investigation was over.
All right, well, why don't we handle that then? Mr. Sir, would you please come to the podium? Identify yourself for the record.
City of Black Farmer.
And you've previously taken the oath, is that correct? No. All right, you need to raise your right hand. Testimony must be sworn. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give today should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, and just give us your name and office for the record, please.
Chad Branford, City of Black Farmer.
Right, is the City of Palatka Fire Department investigating this property for any reason?
No, sir. We called in State Fire Marshal. There was no power to the house the day of the fire. So we used the State Fire Marshal's office to do the investigation. Per Lieutenant Young, the investigation has been closed.
So is there a file open on this?
No, sir.
Can you speak up for me, Chad, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir.
That's great. There you go.
So there's no file?
Sorry about that. Yeah, so according to Lieutenant Young with the State Fire Marshal's office, the case is closed.
All right. So there's nothing from your perspective as a fire marshal that prohibits code enforcement from proceeding as to a possible violation of city code?
No, sir. The fire department has no business there.
All right. Mr. Jefferson?
Yes, sir. Okay. I wasn't aware that Chad was going to be here, but I'm glad that he is. Mr. Chad advised me to make contact with the State Fire Marshal. I was not aware that the property had been burned until I got there, and I started making inquiries myself a few months back. You remember when I spoke with you guys on Chad? That was earlier this year.
Yes, sir. I can't tell you what the dates were, but I know that I sent you the run report.
Yes, sir, you did. Because there was some errors with the run report, which is not a here nor there. It's just that I was not aware of it until here recently, which was a few months ago, Your Majesty. And once I became aware of it, I started inquiring myself as to why I was not notified that there was even a fire at the house. I used to be a former police officer there, and I made contact with the Scott Ronho, who actually made contact with me and stated that the house was on fire. But since then, when I went to speak with him in Palatka, he was no longer with the agency. So after speaking with Chad, because they were in transition with fire marshals there locally, I was advised that it was now a case of the fire marshal, the state fire marshal. Finally got in touch with Lieutenant Young, who in return suggested to me to get a report, and he would discuss it with me further. And if in fact that I was able to find some leads myself, that he would definitely reopen this case. I was not aware that it was actually under arson investigation until that point. Thanks to Chad, I was able to make contact with the proper personnel here in the state of Florida. And I just recently, as of last week, I think I sent it to Mr. Green as well. I was able to obtain a copy of this fire report from the state fire marshal. Chad, from what I understand, you guys forwarded it to him, correct? The case was picked up by them in Jacksonville, correct?
Yes, sir. They took the initial investigation first. I don't know if they received our initial report or not. They have access to it through InFirst, which is our reporting system.
Okay, well, I
I don't know that we ever sent them our report or not.
well,
I don't think
I don't know. I don't know if you guys sent it there. I don't know if they got a copy of that and they cut and paste and filled in the narrative here. But what they did have that you guys did not have with the run number was they also had the incorrect address, which was 1502, which is, again, that's really neither here nor there. But that may have been part of the reason why I was never notified initially about the property. This is property that I acquired after my mother's death. And I was paying people there in town to actually keep the yard and things up. I was not aware that vagrants were staying in it, let alone that they had set the thing on fire. But after speaking with Lieutenant Young, and he said he could not give me some of the information there, but I had to get a copy. So I made a public records request. I received a copy of the fire investigation on last week, and I forwarded that to Mr. Green. And we've been conversing back and forth, but I understand his position and what he has to do, which he has to go forth with it until I have other evidence corroborating my side of the story, which I now have. But there were two individuals on here. And from what I gather now reading this, this incident report, there are also two suspects that were here that were not, they were briefly interviewed, but by whom, I don't know. And my question and my concern is, if in fact that is still considered to be an arson, then that should also be still considered to be a crime scene. Lieutenant Young did let me know that it was closed, but he also told me if we can get more information that he would open it. The only thing that I'm requesting is to give me about 90 days to either get this information that I can have them go forth with some of these individuals that's on the actual report, one being a juvenile, which I'm not going to call his name on here, but I'm sure you guys can see it from there. And the other gentleman, Mr. Shivers, Mr. Corey Shivers, which is a 39-year-old black male. I'm familiar with Mr. Shivers, not personally, but just from the area. So what I'd like to do is request more time to see if we cannot get the information necessary to have these people properly interviewed, since this is
Well,
still.
what's the relevance of the, again, back to the question of what's the relevance of the fire report to the extent one exists either at the state or local level? And if
Well,
they do,
now-
they are public, wait just a moment, please. And they
Okay.
are public records and they're available to you. And I don't think anyone has a problem with that. The question is, the only thing we're looking at today, the only thing the special magistrate has the authority to do under state law and city code is to look at the property and see whether the conditions on the property constitute a violation of city code in some way. The only thing I can do today is to take a look at the property and see whether that building is dilapidated and it creates a safety hazard and whether the building is overgrown with vegetation and needs to be mowed. That's it.
Okay.
I don't get to take a look at how the property burned or why it has or hasn't been maintained or why it hasn't been repaired. The only thing I can look at is what is the condition of the property today and does that condition constitute one or more violations of the city code? And you're entitled to the investigation, obviously. I don't think anyone's denying that.
I'm not
sure. I'm not sure how a delay is going to make any difference on the condition of the property today and whether it violates the code.
Well,
I mean,
because
if you get a report, that doesn't change the condition of the property today.
no, it doesn't. But it's not a matter of getting a report. I have the report here. It's a matter of who's going to be responsible for taking care of that if that is actually still a crime scene.
Well, here's the thing. You're
But
the
I have no
property owner.
problem.
You're the property owner. And under law, you're the one responsible for what goes on the property. Now, there may be people who affect your responsibility. That is, if somebody's damaged you and damaged your property as a result of something they done on your property, that's for another venue. It's not this court. It isn't a court, not this proceeding. It's something else.
Understandable.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out what else we're trying to accomplish here. How long has this property been in this condition? Anyone know?
Well, according to the
You know
report
when
that I
the
got,
fire
since
was?
2019.
I'm sorry?
According to the report that I have since 2019. I think that fire was on 6/19 of 2019.
Of this year?
No, sir, 2019.
So this property's been in the condition for over 3 years.
The
How is
fire-
delay going to change the outcome at this point?
delay of what portion? Delay of tearing it down?
Well, whatever, here's the
Okay,
thing.
I
The
don't,
city-
Mr. Brown, I don't have a
here's
problem
your
with it.
situation, just so you know
I-
how this works. The city's come into me today and asking for finding that there's a violation. The state statutes and the city code allow them to impose a fine on the property in the event that there is a violation. And I don't know what kind of fine you were looking for, Mr. Green.
Sir,
How much of a fine were you looking for?
maybe 50 a day,
How much?
50 a day starting
$50 a day.
November 21st.
Provided there's not compliance in the next 60 days. There's no fine today unless there's no compliance in 60 days. If I were to find there's a violation, what is the compliance going to look like, Mr. Green? What does he have to do within 60 days?
in 60 days, you have to get a permit, or proper permits, either with demolition or refurbish the whole house where it looks like.
It needs to mow the grass around there.
Yes, sir.
So what the city's asking for, as I understand it, within 60 days, and that's by the end of business on November 21st, is to apply for and receive a
Permit.
permit for the demolition of the property and mow the grass and knock down the weeds. That avoids a fine. Can you do that in 60 days?
Absolutely, Mr. Brown, and I wasn't arguing that point at all. I was not aware what the fine was going to be either, and I'm glad we're hashing this out here. But you were asking me what was the reason for the delay, is because I did not realize I had 60 days to do something with it at that point. I was going to request additional time as of today. I didn't know what the point of what that time was going to be. So I have no problem with
Well,
that.
what's your intended use of, what are you going to do with this property? You get let's say you get your delay and you have the fire report. Now what? How does that get the building demolished and the property cleaned?
Well, the property clean is not a problem at all. I've had someone coming in, but clearly that's why I asked him about what was the date on those pictures, because I just recently had that property done and this guy's supposed to be maintaining it, but I'm glad he showed me those pictures because clearly I'm paying money for something, a service I'm not getting. I'll deal with that on my end. That's not a city issue. That's a personal civil issue. I'll deal with that. As far as the permits, now that I noted that that's going to be, I had some guys come out to look at the property to see if it was actually salvageable. The reason why I want to salvage it and rebuild it is because it is my first mother's home, from home she ever did, and I want to keep it in the family. That was my purpose for asking for the delay, to see two things. One, if they needed to do more with it as a fire scene, if he was going to open it as a crime scene, and two, what would I need to do to get it refurbished? Now, the roof is in itself in its entirety, it is pretty bad, but it's not completely down, and the walls are standing on all three sides except for that front portion that you see burned. So I don't have a problem with coming to compliance within the 60 days.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Unless there's something other in the way of evidence about this property, there is a violation of 30-32A due to the overgrown grass and weeds on the property. And there is a violation concerning the condition of the building. The building is burned. The roof has caved in.
It is.
Condition of the house is unstable. This is very unsightly. The only thing the city is asking for is that within the next 60 days, you apply for and receive a permit for the demolition of the property and have the property mowed and maintained. And I don't hear anything reason why that can't be done.
No,
I'm going to
not
enter
at
an
all.
order finding the violation of those two sections of the code and requiring that they be compliant with those two sections within 60 days, that is by the end of business on November 21st, 2022. In the event of noncompliance, that beginning on November 22nd, 2022, a $50 a day fine will begin to accrue on the property. So all you have to do is apply for a permit and clean the property. I'm going to take what you're asking for as a public records request to the city, that the fire marshal or the records custodian for the fire department provide copies of any documents related to any investigation by the city on this property and present those to you.
I have those.
All
Okay.
right.
I
They'll
have
do
those.
that you can do that orally and they'll send that. Is your correct address the one in Tallahassee where you are?
Which one do you have, sir? I have two.
Okay, because you signed the green card there, it looked like.
Blair
Well, it
Stone.
wasn't signed there. Hang on a minute. Let me make sure I got the correct.
Well, let me
Blair
also
Stone.
explain the issue of the green card. It wasn't that I didn't sign it because of COVID. They don't allow you to sign it because of COVID. So that's the reason why.
Well,
I didn't.
okay.
When
Well,
Mr.
here's the
Green
thing.
called me, I
We've
told him
got
that I
this,
didn't
we've got
receive
this address, Jefferson Darius Senior, 3501 Blairstone Road, number 628, Tallahassee, Florida, 32301.
it. That'll be fine.
All right, okay, that will a certified letter get to you?
It will get to me. Now, just know in advance, since we're on the record here, I probably will not have the opportunity to sign it. They would just deliver it. That's why I told Mr. Green that I didn't receive it.
Well, I want to make sure you get there. It says on the post office said on 9/19, the owner received and confirmed it by phone. So they.
No one told me. No, that's incorrect.
So anyway,
That's why Mr.
You're going to
Green called
get
me to make sure
a
I got
copy of
it.
the order and a copy of the public records request at that address. Okay,
That'll be fine.
all right. Thank you very much for your patience today and wish you good luck on getting this resolved.
Thank you, sir. Not a problem.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next case. 1905 Ocean Street, case number 2022-39. Owner of record appears to be the heirs of Anna Doris Paul, care of Levon Paul Tingy. Is that correct?
Tangy LeVon Paul.
Whatever direction it's going to go, I always have to learn which one it is. There are many people now who have first and last names that look like first and last names.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Is anyone representing the heirs of Anna Doris Paul or Tangi Levon Paul present today? All right, Mr. Green, the correct address of record.
108 Square Road, South Carolina, Columbia.
Yeah, hang on. Is the address of record 1905 Ocean Street?
Yes, sir. Where the
Is
property.
that the official address on the property appraiser and tax collector's official rolls?
No, sir. Well, I sent the certified letters is 108 Square Road, Columbia, South Carolina.
All right, did you try to contact them there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got you. And, here it is. Very good. 29223, green card was not signed. Close to the property, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your affidavit indicates a posting on September 9th at the property and also on September 9th here at City Hall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the affidavit is included in the record. Have you had any contact with Mrs. Paul or anyone representing them?
Yes, sir. Someone came in earlier and requested information about the case and what's going on. And we gave it to him, and later on, we're gonna email some more stuff to him.
Do you know who it was that came in earlier?
Did you catch the name, Aaron?
The gentleman's name was Wilvern. I did not have a last name. I did collect his email address and will be corresponding with him via email.
What was his email address?
Sir, I will pull that up for you.
And this is just making sure we got somebody who's been responsive.
That would be wilvernh@yahoo.com. Would you like me to spell that?
Is he related to the Paul family? Do you know?
No, sir, he did not clarify that. He said that he was asked by the property owner to come here and represent her. And we spoke before the case and we invited him to stay.
Any other contact with anyone with the city regarding this property?
Yes, I spoke to the property owner's son Tuesday, and I told him, but he stopped me. I mean, what's going on? And I told him the day would be the day that someone need to come in. He said, he'll try to get someone here.
All right, it looks like you've got 3 violations. If you proceed.
Yes, sir. First one is 30-213. Unsecured or abandoned structures with unsecured entry to buildings. The second was 30-32-810 and A2 prohibited conditions, plumbing nuisance, overgrown grass, and roofing in disrepair. And also the third one was section 30-171, windows, broken windows.
And you've included citations from each of
Yes,
for
sir.
each of those sections in the
Yes,
from
sir.
the code in the record. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we'll take notice of those citations. All right, show me what you have in terms of evidence.
Okay, this is the first picture, 1905 Ocean Street, picture number 1, August 22nd, 22. Roofing in disrepair and broken windows. It's showing a huge gap in the roof, roof fell in, and you have broken windows and overgrown grass.
Okay.
This is picture number 2, August 22nd, 22, showing the building's unsecured 30-213 unsecured building. This is picture number 3, 1905 Ocean Street, August 22, broken windows and unsecured building. This is picture 1B, September 19th. Roofing in disrepair, showing the roof caved in and broken windows and overgrown grass. This is September 19th, picture 2B, showing unsecured building and overgrown grass. You see the door open, no building is unsecured. This is picture 3B, September 19th, overgrown grass and broken windows. You can see the broken windows and the overgrown grass.
All right, anything else?
No, sir.
City's looking for 60 days for compliance.
Yes, sir.
What would be the daily fine in the event of non-compliance?
$75.
75
Yes, sir.
per day.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea how long this property's been in this condition?
I can say maybe 4 years. I can recollect. I passed by it on
Alright.
the way to work.
Final call for anyone who's an heir of Anna Doris Paul, or a final call for Tangi Levon Paul, or anyone representing Tangi Levon Paul. Seeing and hearing no one, we're going to find it evidence sufficient to find violations of section 30-2131A of the code, responsibilities of mortgagee and owners of vacant, blighted, unsecured, or abandoned structures due to the unsecured entry to the building. Section 30-32A10 and A2, prohibited conditions and public nuisances due to overgrown grass and roofing in disrepair. And section 30-171, windows due to broken windows, all of which are visible from Ocean Street.
Yes, sir.
Very good. We'll enter the orders and require that the owner bring the property into compliance. What is the city looking for in compliance on this?
They give them 60 days to get the proper permits to either demolition or refurbish the house.
And clean the property
Yes, sir.
and fix the windows.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll have those things occurring no fewer than 60 days from today's date. It'll be by the end of business, November 21st, 2022. The event of non-compliance, a fine of $75 a day will accrue on the property commencing on November 22nd, 2022. There being no further business, we shall conclude.